Hello, friends, and welcome to Worldbuild with us, the podcast where we create fantastical worlds with help from you, our listeners. My name is Rob Hilferty. I'm here with a full house today with Daniel Quinn, Christopher Prunty, and Courtney Staples. It is a very special episode because we're all here for once, and that's pretty cool. But we've also got an incredible listener prompt that we really want to dig into. This prompt submitted to us by John Doe. So really, this is probably just someone who submitted a bunch of ideas to us before and wanted to start fresh. No judgment. It's totally fine. But John Doe submits that they want a heavy metal / hard rock Middle Ages world as an RPG setting. Think the new Mad Max, the best Mad Max, featuring Tenacious D meets Middle Earth. Music is magic, but so is being fucking metal. And they submitted this with the prompt name of The Land of 1,000 Decibels. And by God, we're going to give them The Land of 1,000 Decibels. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and start us off on our tenets?
Mine, we're going to focus mostly on how I wanted magic to work.
Mm-hmm.
I see magic being 4 parts, and that would be the mastery of all 3 of them would then give you the specialty of the 4th. And I see it as being rock and metal, voice, and shredding. And by that, I mean, hear me out. I see shredding as being like discipline of the body and everything, and like your dexterity. Mm-hmm. I see the voice as more of a
charisma.
Not just charisma, but also if we're thinking about Dune, your ability to command someone with voice, but also in the sense of Skyrim and everything, the Thuum, or the ability to affect the world with just the power of your voice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, still sounds like charisma to me, but that's fine.
I imagine like lyric writing could go into that too.
Lyricism is probably different than voice, I would imagine. But I like the general idea of this so far, but we're missing out on
shredding.
Well, okay, shredding I can totally get behind. The voice I can totally get behind. What is the third nebulous one, which sounds like you kind of like threw it in at the end? Like,
no. There was 4. There was 4. Rock and metal.
Yeah,
was going to be where I wanted it to be like the different types of metal and the different types of rock are the ways that you display things on yourself. So imagine enchantment of certain weapons is like you have rock, you have metal, you tattoo literal rock symbols into your skin with metal dyes, stuff like that. And the 4th one, the nebulous one that I was going into, was once you command all 4, that's where you then specialize in such a way, and that's where you become like a death metal necromancer.
Okay.
Nice.
So it's like these are like general. Oh man. Okay. So everyone has to have voice though, which I find is interesting.
Yes.
Isn't what you specialize in is what you mean, right?
Everyone can specialize. So imagine if everyone has a little bit of command of the voice, but only someone who has mastered all 4 is someone who can truly be a rock legend.
I love it.
Okay. Okay. Understood. I'm just trying to think of like the different roles in a band. Like frontman is obviously voice, right? Like that's the way I'm looking at it. And shredding would probably be like guitarist, I would imagine as well.
See, you were thinking of it as in how people could be commanded to a rock band. I was thinking of it in terms of how to turn classes in RPGs and stuff into being from a rock band. Like I saw someone who was a shredder being a martial artist.
Well, yeah, and then he gets beat up by 4 turtles in a rat.
I wanted to make
that. You literally called them a shredder, Chris. Like, come on, man.
know.
Very subtle. It's very subtle.
Yeah.
It's super subtle.
All right, so we've got 4 magical areas. So, okay, I'm liking this. I feel like we need to work on a little bit more, but that's totally fine. Because I feel like you're missing out on like drummers and stuff like that who are like they shred, but in a very different way. You know what I mean? Like that's like the physical attribute that they need.
Well, I was trying to look up metal terms, and there's There's not as good ones for drummers, obviously.
Yeah, because drummers
wouldn't
are
they be
always
shredding?
left out. That's the thing, you know.
Wouldn't they be shredding? Like, isn't shredding the physical aspect, right? So they gotta use their arms to do that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
but shredding is specifically a guitar term, which is why it's like,
I see.
that's why it's like, it always excludes the drummer, despite the fact that like drummers are fucking necessary.
Maybe rhythm is a better way to put it.
Rhythm is
It
too
doesn't
soft.
sound as cool.
Rhythm doesn't sound as hard and as cool,
Yeah.
though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Could it be rock? What was rock again? Could it? Because I guess rock isn't it either. But what's rock technically?
Rock, I wanted to be kind of like rock and metal being the use of your instruments, whether they be like drumsticks, guitars, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So could that be drums? Drums then?
It sounds like it could be, yeah.
Yeah, but that means someone who is using a guitar gets shredding and rock pretty powerful.
Yeah, but these are just on the paths to getting a rock legend anyway, right?
That's true. And how many rock legends? Well, there are some, but once again, we go back. Everyone forgets about the drummer.
Everyone does forget
Well,
about the drummer,
it sounds like if you treat the four elements more as ways that the music is handled rather than aspects of their person. Like, so for example, if like shredding, I don't know what shredding technically is with a guitar, but I assume it's like when they like do the really cool riff thing on their guitar, right? Is that what the shredding is?
Daniel again.
Solo.
Daniel again. Ancient mummy. Like, it just
the only music I listen to is like from 1998 and it's garbage. So it's literally the band Garbage. So like I'm assuming, is that like when you're like doing really cool stuff with the guitar? So like couldn't it just be the act of doing like some amazing shredding of your music? You know, like instead of actually being you're shredded.
No, shredding is the act of the guitar, of playing the guitar very fast.
But do you see what I mean? Yeah. So like it has to do with how you're executing the music, not your physicality anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. Because then a drummer could be shredding it because he's doing such crazy stuff to the music.
Right. Like maybe more like heaviness or speed, something like that.
Okay, what was the RPG that we played that was like very similar to this?
There was
Metal
Heavy
Opera.
Metal Soul.
Heavy Metal Opera. That's what.
No, it was just Metal Opera.
Metal Opera. There we go.
But sadly, the site that used to host it is no longer in existence. So I need to find like a Wayback Machine of it or something.
That's kind of heartbreaking, actually.
It is.
All right.
Very sad.
So all right. Let's get back to it. Okay. So I think we're getting bogged down a little bit too much in the minutia.
Agreed.
I think the idea that we can focus on 4 different aspects of metal and rock, that's totally fine. We can kind of talk about that later. Let's go ahead and move on to the next tenet. Does anyone have anything that's magic adjacent that we can switch to?
I do, actually. And Chris, this ties in with what you're saying with your rock and metal type of magic and tattooing. So you know the really like incomprehensible looking metal band names, like the text that's just like a bunch of jagged lines and shit, and you have no idea what's going on.
Obviously,
yeah.
Yes.
So I was thinking that could be like the rune system of this world, like the magic writing, basically. So
I'm totally okay with that.
so that's actually like how like the monks of this world write their holy scripture. And
oh my god, that's
could
amazing.
see it on like
the crazy ass fonts.
Yeah, with like. And put that on that is their illuminated manuscripts, and that's the writing that's in temples and stuff.
Yes.
So I could see that
that's
just
so
being
great.
ridiculous. Yeah.
If only I could make the title of this podcast indecipherable with that font.
I can help you with that.
Yeah, but it won't be cross-platform, so there's really no point.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. I actually love that a lot. That's really fucking cool. Now you said tattoos as well. So I'm assuming that we have like there is a level of like, hey, I've got a bunch of tattoos. That means that I have magic in me, right?
Yeah, I could see that as a way of like directly infusing somebody with certain magical abilities.
Yeah, I feel like because like tattoos are such a big part of it that has to be an aspect of the world as well, you know?
Yeah. Or it's like a blessing of a god if you have their tattoo on you.
Or it denotes you as like a champion of a specific like deity of some kind. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I was curious about deities and everything, seeing how rock often has that whole Satan.
So, Chris, you didn't mean to, but you gave me an excellent segue into one of my tenets, which is Satan is real, and he is very important in the setting, and he's not necessarily the bad guy. He's someone who you draw power from. Yeah. Because let's be real, guys. Since the beginning, everyone has looked at rock and or roll with like the vision of like, oh, that music comes from Satan. Like, it's just part of the music, it's part of the culture, and depending on which subculture you're getting into, they directly are like, yeah, fuck yeah, Satan, hail Satan. You throw up the horns at fucking concerts and shit like that. So Satan, I was like, when I sat down, I'm like, Satan has to be part of this in some way. Like, we have to make sure that Satan is in this world.
Are there knights that might be in his service?
I mean, I haven't, my literal tenet was Satan is real and in this world. Like, that's basically as far as I've thought about it. But I'm like, I need Satan in my life in this setting in particular. It's the literal devil. Although I was thinking if we were doing like expanded deities and whatnot, we could make it so like there are literal rock gods that you serve. And then in that way you can kind of do a wink and a nod to specific bands. Like, oh, I pray to the lady, the Iron Maiden, right? Or something like that.
I like
so
that.
you could do fun stuff like that, right? Or you could do
Judas Priest or clerics.
Yeah, of course.
Well, could you say that like Satan is the underlying force that powers all these deities?
Obviously.
So like you've got Iron Maiden, you've got, I don't know, whatever other rock. I don't like heavy metal. So whatever other heavy metal, bands there are, right? So like
I'm not
those are the gods. Like those are the gods or the elemental forces or whatever they are, but they draw their power from Satan.
Yes, I'm totally okay with that. Because
I like them, so their metal is powered by Satan.
Of course, that's like got to be part of the fucking system, man.
I love
we've
that.
We've got to have sweet Satan in our lives, right?
Like I'm picturing like the witch kind of Satan, like not literally in terms of the mythology, but that kind of like creepy background dark force.
Oh, I thought you meant just a goat.
And it appears as a goat. No, but it's got to be the goat from like the Church of Satan. Like the complicated Baphomet. Yeah, Baphomet thing.
That's fine. I was also thinking, like, there's so many cool subcultures of metal that we can get into. Like, you could do like Norwegian black/death metal, which is
God, Vikings.
Yeah, well, no, actually, that's an entirely different type of metal.
Oh,
that's literally called Viking metal. You have like a Mon Amarth or something like that. But
what's wizard metal?
That'd be like the sword, basically. Or actually, in some cases, it could also just be fucking Led Zeppelin, because like Led Zeppelin has that entire album that's basically just Lord of the Rings. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that doing something like that where, you're like Chris's stats, right? Where you have to master all 4 in order to become a rock legend. Why don't we just go fucking a whole hog with it and say like the true masters who like ascend, they ascend into godhood. And so we can pick and choose which, like metal. I think that we wouldn't necessarily, I'm sure we all have our favorites, right? But I think the idea is you can create your own pantheon of rock gods depending on the system and game that you want to play.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I think doing fun little nods and winks like the Iron Maiden, or let's see, what are some other good? I think just the Slayer would be an awesome one as well.
Well, that's cool. They already have god names, so it's kind of easy.
Some of them do, and then some of them do not. Like
what's one that does it? I'm curious.
Well, actually, they kind of have demon names for some of them, right? Like so, it's like Cradle of Filth, or
nice.
or Mayhem, or actually, I don't.
You could also do albums.
Albums is also a good one as well. Yeah. That's a good point.
And
that's a good point.
There's also, it seems like there's a lot of like Sumerian god named metal bands, which is interesting. I'm not entirely sure why, but maybe it's just associated with demonology and Satan.
I imagine that's probably a large part of it as well. Chris?
Yes?
You're saying something? Or about to?
I was about to make a stupid joke. About a trickster god named Dio because you thought it was him.
Oh, that's good. I can. That's respectable. You could also do like if you want to do like Danzig, you can always get a Danzig one in there. See, I love these musical references that go over most people's heads because it's like, hey, do you guys know that Danzig sings a song about Jackie O. Kennedy like giving him a blowjob with like the brain spatter of her husband still on her dress? Because that's a real thing. Also, Danzig is a fucking weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean the 1980s? Yes. It's not that far away.
You can always say that for anything, I feel.
Yeah, the 80s is weird. 80s is very weird. Okay, let's move on. So we've got Sweet Sweet Satan. We've got a bit of magic. We've got the gods settled in. We've got sweet ass tattoos giving us metal power from Satan. Daniel, you haven't gone yet. What is one of your tenets?
Do you want the one that deals with the apocalypse, or do you want the one that deals with magic?
Let's go apocalypse first.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place to start.
My tenet is there is a song so powerful that if it were ever performed, it would destroy the world, and that there are fragments of the song littered throughout the world.
Ooh.
Okay, I feel like that's like so obvious, but also like fucking duh, and also fuck yeah, that's amazing. You know, like
I mean, it has to be the case.
You've got to sing the song that ends the world. Absolutely,
it's the apocalypse song.
Yes, absolutely, but not the apocalypse song by Saint Vincent because she's not at all. Anyway, yeah. But that's awesome. I love that idea.
It turns out it's an Enya song, and they're like, "Fuck,
okay,
that's why it ends the world."
Again, no problem with Enya whatsoever. I love Enya. When it comes to like music, get you a man who can do both, which is Enya and also like some heavy fucking metal. There's no problem with that whatsoever. Although I think that what we can probably do with your song, Daniel, that ends the world, we might be able to tie it into the tattoos that Courtney was talking about previously, where you don't find the lyrics of these things on like
it's on the people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So are people born with tattoos?
That was my other question.
Yes.
You can do so then you could have literal horsemen of the apocalypse because oh man, yeah.
Born under a particular
We just did Harry Potter's we just did Harry Potter / death metal there. Did you see what we did?
I mean, to be fair, Harry Potter has stolen it from death metal, but that's totally
That's why they were all so upset.
Yeah, exactly. Also witchcraft, also Hail Sweet Satan. So yeah. Okay. I feel like we're fucking cruising along here. Like we have 4 people, but we're so on board with the setting that it's like, yeah, no, we knew exactly what was happening as we walked into this.
Like it's just obvious when you guys say certain things. We're like, yeah, that has to be the case.
Yeah. Exactly. You know? Exactly. So I was thinking more about deities, and I was thinking more about like the way this land looks, right? And my second tenet is regarding the landscape, and that I want the landscape to look grim and black and violent constantly. And the best and safest way that people get around are through things that look like American muscle cars, but are powered by magic.
Nice. I like
that.
That's so Mad Max. I love it.
It's Mad Max, and it's also a bunch of covers of metal.
Oh my God. Wait, no. There has to be one van with a wizard mural.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Yes. Also,
I mean, that's exactly what I was picturing when you said that. Like I was picturing a black landscape, with the sand is black and the sky is gray, and there's fucking cars everywhere.
Constant lightning.
Oh yeah,
constant lightning. Yes.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to fuck around with, and also,
oh my God.
What was I going to say? Oh, I was thinking of like. That's basically just half of Motorhead / Pantera's like album covers anyway. We could also throw in Metallica, I guess, as well, where it's like lightning and black, and it's like endless long roads with featureless landscapes as well.
Yeah.
Except for like cool mountains occasionally. That's also an important part of it. Yeah.
Oh, can the villagers like whatever, you know, in medieval stories, like people are like, oh, you know, praise be, whatever. They always say like Hail Satan. That's basically the standard greeting.
Yeah, that's
okay.
True.
Yeah.
And you use the finger thing with the little horns.
Oh,
that's how you greet someone.
Okay.
It's Hail Satan.
Okay. So I'm assuming that we have people who are going around and putting on performances a lot of the times, right?
Yes.
So
bards.
These are just like the heroes of the world, right? Like that's how they do it.
Metal bards.
Okay, I would love to bring in a little bit of the very amazing Adult Swim show Metalocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
And in that show, it's like everyone goes to see Death Clock, which is the band, and then they always end up horribly maimed due to like pyrotechnics or other nonsense things. I think that the villagers in this landscape are basically a magical resource / sacrifice engine.
Yes.
Where it's like the people who are not born to be heroes are born to be sacrificed instead.
To be murdered and cruelly. I love that.
Totally makes sense.
Like,
blood
sacrificed during the performances, specifically to fuel their, like, it's like a blood sacrifice to,
and they're excited about it.
Oh yeah,
like every
Death
Death Clock episode ever.
Yes,
like,
exactly. Yeah, and then they just fucking explode in blood. Yes. Okay. I know we're hitting on a lot of like, this is exactly what we're doing. Okay, let's fucking go.
Yep. I could also see that tying in with the writing system. Like if you write stuff in blood and it's like extra metal because of that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously.
So we have blood sacrifice concerts. Does anyone have anything related to that, whether it be like music or instruments or something like that?
Yes.
I have something that involves resurrection, but that can wait.
All right, Courtney, what did you say?
Yes, so I do have one related to instruments and instrument makers. I imagine that since everything, like all the magic and everything revolves around music, instrument makers are especially held in high regard. Similar to like wand makers in Harry Potter.
But cool. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But awesome. And I could see like instruments could be imbued with certain special materials, imbued with that writing system that I mentioned. And could also see like smashing an instrument as a release of a huge burst of magical power.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Because of course you've got to smash shit all over the stage.
Yeah, yes. I mean, in part, yes, but also maybe, well, I was also thinking that like the materials that you use for your instruments is also going to be very important. I need to go out and like single-handedly murder a griffin, right? Like under the blood moon sky, in order for me to get like the best, guitar neck for my fucking sweet ass guitar, like that type of thing. I love that idea though. That's really interesting.
I'm just saying that it sounds a lot like Monster Hunter, the hunter's horn now.
I mean, you could have just stopped at Monster Hunter. Like, really, but I also think it's not just about like hunting specific monsters. I think doing specific acts during like in a ritualistic sense is also what we want to look for too. Like maybe acts of heroism are also where you can kind of, like draw that power in some way.
Yeah, or during specific events like a blood moon eclipse, like imbues things with special powers, maybe.
Yeah. Although to be fair, in the landscape, it's that sounds really cool. Yeah. It's more common than you would imagine.
Yeah,
the blood moon.
It's
eclipse,
like every week, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have to do like certain incredible things or sacrifices to create certain weapons?
I would imagine that would make sense. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The creator or the guy who forges it is like, okay, I can make this insane guitar, but I'm gonna need 7,000 villagers, and you have to perform on top of a mountain while it's raining blood.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Totally.
I mean, that sounds totally legit. Actually, yes. So yeah, that's fine. I was also thinking like acts of heroism and like sacrifice, where it's like you tear out your own beating heart in order to save an orphan or something like that.
Yes.
And it's like somehow that turns into a guitar pick. It's like, yeah, that's how that magic works.
Yeah, totally. I like that.
Yeah. All right, so that's super fun. So we've got a lot of magic stuff. Daniel, you said yours was kind of related to magic, right?
Yeah, since you said tearing out your beating heart, like, and then the hero can still proceed, I have a way that can work.
Do go on.
So I was thinking like resurrection for me in a lot of any RPG or story, it's just like a bad idea because it ruins the stakes immediately if people can be resurrected. But we have a setting here where villages are regularly sacrificed and people rip out their beating hearts as a testament to their their glory, right? So I'm thinking maybe there's a way that people are resurrected, and it's a commonplace thing in the sense that people can be returned to Earth with the song of their life. And I don't know exactly what that means, but the idea is that if you can play the song of their life, you can bring them back in some form. And I don't know if that means literally bring them back, or if it means bring back the spirit of them into you so you can then perform like they did. I don't know. But I want resurrection in some way to be a power, that a very important power that musicians use to conjure the effect of the hero or the story of their life.
So
I like that idea a lot, actually.
I really like that. And when you were talking about like bringing the spirits within themselves, it got me thinking about like a Highlander kind of situation where somebody's just going around murdering people and then like stealing their souls to gain their power.
Stealing their songs.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh. See, I was actually thinking like of a Valhalla Valkyrie situation as well.
Oh yeah. I like that.
I feel like there's some way that we can create like a cool synthesis of all of this, you know, where it's like maybe like resurrection magic is actually really commonplace, or maybe it's like a fairly basic skill that most people have. So when they sacrifice themselves, it's like a literal body and blood sacrifice type thing, but the spirit is still like lingers on in the world or something like that.
So like the souls of all the events and things that have happened permeate this land, but you can call upon them with song.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay. So it's literally about the soul in music. So if you steal someone's soul, that's actually way more of like a much bigger deal than if you like murder them in some way, right?
Because the body is weak and flesh, but the soul, it persists beyond everything, and it's the soul of music.
Exactly.
So music is your soul, basically.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And when you were talking about like the sound or like the song of their life, like I feel like that's something that is very important as well.
Yeah, like that's what defines them.
Yes.
Oh, maybe it's like in Legend of Earthsea, or Wizard of Earthsea rather, where like people have true names, and in the setting it's like your true song, and if somebody plays your true song, they can steal your soul and control you.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, that's
my
good.
God.
That's really good.
Fucking love it.
Yeah.
That's metal.
Ooh, and they play it better than you or something. Like that could be like a rock off, where you're trying to play your own song better.
That's the
Highlander aspect. Yeah.
And that's the most dangerous that's the most dangerous combat that you can get into. It's
a duel.
Yeah, it's not like the sword fights where you lop off arms and lose limbs or and like tear out your heart. No. It is like the battle of the bands. It's the Tenacious D, like the greatest song in the world. It's The Devil Went Down to Georgia, which is not rock in any way, but still the point stands. It's like, the dueling of the music is the dueling of the souls. And that's where we can bring in the Highlander aspect for sure. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I have a question.
Say it.
Is the song that ends the world the soul of the devil?
Ooh, it is now.
Nice.
It fucking is now.
That's why it ends the world.
Yep. Yeah, because you can't. Yeah, because you'd essentially be taking magic out of the world.
You become Satan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
or
that's fucking dope.
What if by playing Satan's song, you basically like purge him, and it becomes like a normal, chill world?
Oh no, that sounds terrible.
Destroy
like
the
ultimate apocalypse. Everything just becomes like normal. There's like sunshine.
It's not metal
and
anymore.
rainbows and shit. Yeah.
And that's actually hilarious. Where it's like instead of the sky becoming black, it's like, look out, there's blue sky coming. You know,
there's birds tweeting.
Yeah.
Oh god. So I brought this up before, but Daniel, I'm assuming that you've never seen the world's shittiest movie of rock and roll.
Is that the one that's a cartoon?
Yes.
And it's got like this girl at the end. I think they're sacrificing or something.
Yes. And
I love that movie.
Oh my god.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Heavy Metal? Because Heavy Metal is.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, I posted it in the Discord. If that is what you're thinking of, but
I know there's like a girl that's like a wizardress at the end. There's like some crazy performance.
Is there Mick Jagger level villain in it?
I think there's a Mick Jagger villain in it.
Or I think it.
Because I was a kid when I saw it.
Anyhow, the villain in that is looking for someone who can sing the chord that ends the world.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Maybe that's like echoing from like when I was, I don't know,
your
like
subconscious
10,
childhood.
Maybe. Wait, what is it called? So I can look it up.
Rock and Rule.
Rock and Roll. Okay, hold on.
The important thing is it cost $8 million to make, and it made $30,000.
Okay, that's not what I remember it looking like
you're
at
thinking
all.
of Heavy Metal.
But
I'm sure.
Wait, let me see. Let me see Heavy Metal.
Because yours might also be good.
Yeah. Well, Heavy Metal's okay. I wouldn't call it good.
But was Heavy Metal? This other one looks cooler. But was it a cartoon? It was a cartoon.
Yeah, Heavy Metal was a cartoon.
Yes, it was.
I'm not sure. Let me see.
All right, we're burning daylight here, folks.
Okay,
we're burning daylight. All right, so we've got the song that ends the world. Chris, what is? I think you're the only one who has a tenant left, right?
I do, and I wanted it to be that the technology that was left before is part of what gives these people all of these powers. Like, we're talking about what will destroy the world. I want to talk about what got the world to this point, and it was that through the manipulations of sound, we have been transported into this strange dimension where everything that we're talking about exists. But a lot of the tools, I want relics of guitars and stuff that are not using what they're intended to, but imagine someone's using one of the devices that changed us into this dimension, and they're using it as a basis.
You're going to have to explain that a little bit more.
So the frequencies and the vibrations that kind of shifted our reality, these people are using them as instruments, and these are like the legendary weapons.
Okay, so we want legendary weapons that basically are weapons of creation of this metal landscape.
Yes.
Okay, that I can get into. What did you mean when you were saying that they were misappropriated, though? Like,
so this is kind of like where I remember hearing about some metal band that essentially created a sound that was from the reverberations of someone's skull.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be where using like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a weapon besides an atom bomb as kind of like the power source for an electric guitar.
I mean, that sounds totally fine. Like, why can't we use a fucking A-bomb for a guitar?
I wanted another example.
We have to use an A-bomb now.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, I mean, what else would you like? Why are we like limiting ourselves to terrestrial items? Why can't we have like for example, when we played Metal Opera that one time, I played the Rocktopus, and he used
what?
Yeah, he was the drummer. And he had like 8 different drumsticks that were all like mythological like items. So he had like a branch off of the world tree. He had like Mjolnir as one of his drumsticks.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I wish Metal Opera was still around, because that system is so ridiculous, and basically half of what we're saying would sound like an amazing Metal Opera like game. Also, I think one of the other drumsticks was the arm that the Def Leppard drummer lost in that accident that one time. It was the most ridiculous shit that I had ever come up with. It was amazing.
I just love how unapologetic this setting, not this setting, but any like heavy metal setting is. Like, they just don't care.
Yeah, I think it's because
I
think a lot of it comes down to like how seriously you take yourself, right? Like,
yeah,
I think that's why a lot of people are turned off by something like Norwegian black metal, because like people have literally died because they took that sub scene too seriously.
Wow.
Oh yeah, there was like a couple people who were in bands with music that's actually pretty good, who like murdered people because it's like
What?
Oh yeah, there's like a whole movie like a
they got their own
documentary
hype.
on it. Yeah, they fed into their own hype. Exactly right, Chris. And it's like not only that, but there was like a series of like church burnings that happened because they got too much into their own hype. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Like that's the problem. And actually, if anything, what I think we should talk about is like, what's the conflict in this world? You know, like I feel like maybe feeding into your own like hype is part of it, or like believing a little bit too much in the seriousness of it. could be like a part or a theme that we can kind of play with there, you know?
That's a good question, because I don't know, like, I know the setting is supposed to be like pseudo medieval, right? I mean, in the vaguest sense of that term, based on the prompt.
Yes, but I also think that we've like rocketed past that in many ways.
Right. You know? So it's like it started there, because he seemed to also, the person who sent us the prompt seemed to lean towards, he said Middle Earth too. So he's got, that means he has a sense of the epic in there.
Right.
It's implied.
I think that we could do like a good like Middle Earth / Mad Max. I think there's good space for that, you know.
Because he said Mad Max. So I'm thinking like to work on what you're saying, like if you're talking about, okay, kind of falling or believing into your own hype, right? And you're thinking Middle Earth epic, there is something to be said about believing too much in the story you constructed of yourself. So like, for example, if you think of Lord of the Rings, like what's his name, Sauron truly believes in the story of himself, but he's descended from this long line of semi-god sort of entities, right? But at the same time, like, there's this vision in his Sauron mind of being the ruler of Middle Earth, and that, you know, like, he has an idea of how that's supposed to work, and that's part of his downfall is being overconfident in his abilities. So maybe that's part of the theme here is falling for your own stories, falsehoods.
I really love that. I think that that's got to be a major key. Like, you're not just being a hero so you can write a song about it. You're being a hero for like the good reasons, for the right reasons, right?
I mean, does Satan tempt you in that regard, or is he on your side, or is he against you?
Yes,
that's my question.
I mean, it's
I like that.
I think it's Satan.
The answer is yes.
Say yes. I mean, I think why not, right?
Because he wants you to achieve greatness, but he also wants you to fail, right? In a sense.
Yeah, he tempts you with like, oh, you know what it could be? Like, you could become really famous, and then once you're super famous, you start to like believe your own hype, and so you burn out, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a level of like, you're not doing it for the soul of the music anymore. You're doing it to feed into your own ego, you know? And
so that the great enemy is elitism.
It's yourself. It's believing your own hype. Or it could, and then I think that's maybe where we can kind of get into the Highlander aspect of it, where the highest level combat is soul combat, right? And so after a couple victories, like, yeah, I am the baddest motherfucker on the planet. I don't need to be a hero. I've already proven myself to be that, you know? And maybe that's where your soul is kind of decayed, and you stop doing things heroically, but you're still very powerful, you know, but it's like, that's where you stop growing.
I have another question for you then.
Please.
Because it sounds like Satan is kind of a trickster god in a sense, in some dimension, right?
Satan?
And we know. We'll follow me here for a second. And we know that Satan, the song of Satan, is what ends the world. If you sing Satan's song and take his soul, what if that is Satan's goal? Like, he wants to pit all of these warring bands against each other, make them vie for being the most powerful, so that they will sing the song of Satan and he can take them and end the world. And so the hero's goal is to achieve that song, but to defeat Satan in that sense.
We'll bring about a new age of easy listening.
Of a new age of
jazz.
That's good, actually.
Yeah.
I was thinking Kenny G, actually, but yeah.
Oh my God.
Or Enya, like we were saying previously. But okay, how about this, Daniel? How about the more powerful you become, the more you're tempted by Satan?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay.
To sing the song of Satan.
Well, no, I actually think that he wants to, like, the Satan that we're dealing with is kind of like, just wants to maintain status quo, essentially, right? But he also enjoys, like, the adulation that these people are giving him constantly, you know?
Well, could that be maybe the apocalypse resets the world, and so it's a cycle for him? It's another way of playing it.
But why would Satan then, like, want to tempt people into constantly renewing the world? That doesn't seem
to get the best talent every pass.
If everyone's decadent, no one's really decadent. If everyone's metal as fuck, then no one's really
to make
being
better and better metal. Yeah.
That would actually explain a lot of, like, archaic technology as well. You know, it's like, oh, why are there cars that look like American muscle cars? It's because the previous generations got to that point.
It was the 80s.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay. I can fuck with this now. All right. So constant apocalypse is what we're looking at, basically.
Yes,
I like
constant
it, yeah.
apocalypse.
Okay.
It's kind of like Morkborg. Like, isn't it in Morkborg? There's that. Is it a scripture? What's the thing that ends the world
basilisk.
in that one?
The basilisk.
The
yeah.
basilisk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will end at some point. So it's kind of like you're living in this realm that you know is going to come to an end, but it's a question of what can you achieve in that time.
Okay. Oh yeah. So we can. Okay, if we're approaching it from a Morkborg way, I love that. And then, except at the end of the session, you don't actually burn the book. You actually just start over again and be like, all right, let's go. Let's do the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fuck yeah. Let's go. We're good. We've knocked out all the tenets. We've established a fucking metal ass setting that we've got going on here.
A metal ass.
Yeah. We've established a really fucking metal setting. Let's go ahead and we can build an anchor, and then we'll go ahead and give in the twist, and we'll go, and then we can kind of wrap it up, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right. So we are creating our anchor, which is going to be a major thing that we've got to add to the setting. And the subject of this anchor is going to be a monster. Hell yeah. Let's go. All right. And the theme surrounding this perhaps heavy metal monster is going to be all is lost. Okay, I feel like that. First of all, that's definitely a metal album name, or at least a song on a metal album. So yeah, we have a monster whose theme is all is lost. Is this a harbinger? Is this a soul-sucking one? What are we going with here?
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to picture it as the apocalypse of easy listening monster.
See, I don't want to like be the obvious one here, but I feel like we need something that is like in itself metal, but also an angel, but also covered in a black cloak.
I was also thinking an angel.
Okay.
Sort. Yeah.
Okay, so we can do like a sweet evil angel whose theme is all is lost. Now let's talk about that theme a little bit more. I don't necessarily want it to be apocalyptic. I think that it should be a terrestrial kind of all is lost situation. So is this something that feeds on hope? Is this something that feeds on heroism? Maybe that's something that we can kind of explore a little bit.
Or on souls, because if you lose your soul, you can no longer perform music, and that's like basically what matters here. Yeah.
Is it a patron saint of like those without music?
Lost souls.
Okay, so all is lost, meaning all your music is lost. So this thing feeds on your soul, which is your music.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is it like, so does that mean there's a realm in this world of people who have lost their souls and thus their music? And so are these the ones who worship that god, or do people who lose their music turn to this god and are tormented by it? Or monster, whatever it is.
I mean, you can have both, Daniel.
When they lose their soul and their song, they just go and become a member of this angel's choir.
I feel like there's something we're missing here.
Well, maybe we should. What is this thing like? You said it. Well, you want to be terrestrial, not divine. So it's a thing on the earth. So maybe we move it away from being not angelic looking, but angelic in the sense of divine. So it's a physical thing. It's a mortal thing, but a monster, right?
Yeah. So I was thinking like we were taking the angel aesthetic necessarily, not necessarily like the form of the angel, but like, or rather not the theme of the angel, but the form of the angel, right?
Is it a thing? Is it a creature that walks the land and rips souls or music from them? And it's like a void of music, basically?
Yes. Also, it is the thing that heroes have to kill in some way, right? So
yeah,
this is a boss monster of like a specific region that you kill in order to restore hope. And also it's like you reach that next tier, that next level, right?
Is it the Deafener?
I was thinking calling it an Oblivion Angel, but Deafener sounds kind of interesting, but that's like you're making
Aura of Silence.
Okay, I like that actually. The Aura of Silence does sound like a really cool idea.
So like that's why it's so bad to fight, because your music has to be so powerful it overcomes its aura of silence.
Okay, yeah. And not only that, but you're basically dampening the soul by silencing it.
Yeah.
Also,
because you feel weak in its presence because your fucking soul is silent.
Yeah. Okay, that's
I could
cool.
see hearing its approach being to like that ringing sound when you've just come out of like a really loud concert.
Oh, the sound of the ear. What is it? The eardrum.
The swan song
dying.
of your eardrum. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And not only, I'm thinking of this angel like letting out a big like screech / roar, but instead of like noise coming out, it's like silence coming out, which is actually really terrifying to think about.
I like that.
I'm so picturing like an OSR moment where you got the party, right? And they roll up to this thing and it's got like one old like battered sword, but it's huge. And they fight it. Most people get their arms chopped off and their heads chopped off. But the one last person in the party who's performing that one song isn't playing the whole goddamn time as its party members are dismembered. And he finally plays the one song that shatters its sword. And then the other hero stabs it through the heart and explodes.
I feel like that's what happened with that Bastige campaign when I killed the demon, or Tirth killed the demon with my sword or something. Remember that?
Oh man, that was ages ago.
That was forever ago.
Yeah. That's kind of similar, actually. Yeah, that's pretty damn close to what happened. Yeah. Well, that's you also killed a for real angel in that campaign, but
yeah, that's fine.
I killed the angel.
Oh, that's true. I apologize. Which is thematically very appropriate, all things considered,
for my very good character.
Anyway, so we've got this oblivion angel, and we've got let's give it a little bit more concreteness, shall we? So Daniel, love the scene that you're setting, right? Love that idea. Is this like a thing that owns a continent? Is it a thing that roams the continent? Is it a warlord? How are we approaching it in that regard?
I feel like it shouldn't have a following or I don't want it to be a warlord, because that sense that gives it too much sentience. I'd like it to be more unknowable. Can we
amp up? I just realized we can amp up the metal imagery and have it kind of be like a floating entity that has a bunch of chains that dangle down. And at the end of those chains are souls on hooks. And when you're fighting, you're not just fighting this oblivion angel thing. You're fighting like the lost souls that it's like dangling like puppet strings as well.
I love that.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful.
That's going to be the monster.
Ooh, can it have a crown? Like some kind of metal crown?
It's the absence of sunlight. It's like pitch black. Yeah. With like a cool, like a silver outlining or a white light outlining or something like that.
I take
like
it.
a black hole aura, basically.
Yes.
Or a black hole halo.
Yeah. Or an eclipse, like an eclipse halo of some kind.
Yeah. That's so when it approaches towns, it eclipses the already gray sky with total darkness and silence. They hear the silence.
People here are used to silence, or no, people here are used to darkness, but not that dark. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Okay. So we've got that. Now we're going to roll into our next episode. We're going to roll on the twist list, and we're going to have to figure out how we're going to take this setting and just fuck everything up with it. So let's roll the die and see what we get. Okay, this is a weird one. They are all clones is the twist.
Oh my God.
I mean, we kind of touched that.
I get it. We're going to save that for next episode, Daniel. We all have our ways to reconcile.
Oh, right. I forgot this is the next episode.
Yes, exactly. It's okay. No one really knows how this show works anyway. It's okay.
I always forget, we're not continuing for another hour.
No, not this time. All right. So that will be it for this very cool, very metal episode. And thank you again to John Doe for submitting such an excellent prompt. And remember that if you want us to build your world, you can always submit a prompt over at worldbuildwithus@gmail.com, or you can shoot us a tweet or a DM over at Let's Worldbuild. And if you want to come join our community, then you can go ahead and join our Discord with a link in the description, Or if you're feeling particularly generous, you can join our Patreon. And a big shout out to C.R. Rowanson for upping his pledge for his patronage this month. So thank you very much. And remember that we love you very much, and we're going to get through this until next week.
And also Hail Satan.
Oh, Hail Satan.
Sweet Satan.
Yeah.
Daniel, can I get a Hail Satan, please?
Obviously, Hail Satan.
Thank you.